What up, what up, what up, what up? What's up, real life? What life? What's happening? What's going on? What's going down? Who's in here? What we got going on tonight? Let's see. We shall see. See the shine, see. You see? Da 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 da. What's happening? Hello, hello, hello. What's going on? That's clear. It's clearing. What up, what up, what up, what up? Check in. What's up out there? What's going on? Going down. Who's coming out to play? Anybody coming out to play today? Or not? See who's coming out to play or who's not coming out to play? That is the question. That is the question. So. Maybe not. Maybe so, maybe no. We have 5 people in here a minute ago. 6 people. Now there's 4 folks. What's up, 4 folks? Not. Shall see. That's long. I can't see nothing. Maybe we'll smoke some more. Maybe we'll smoke some more. What's up, Treat? Not a lot. What's going on? Not a lot either. Just got on here to see what's everybody's up to. What kind of condition my condition's in. What's up, Treats? We like the nightlife. We like the boogie. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. There we go. That's good. Anyway, just chilling. Was at a little event. You was at a little event today. Right on. I didn't do a whole lot today. Was out and about yesterday, about all day. Hung tight to the house today. Had a little bit of rain this afternoon. What kind of event? Yeah. Right. That's about it. Chilling. Where'd I go? I went out somewhere today. I went to the grocery store. That was it. Went and grabbed a few things at the grocery store to make some, I made some, like Mexican pizza things, like Taco Bell Mexican pizzas, but I made some here. Not too bad, actually. Not too shabby. Got through with that not too long ago. Yeah, about an hour ago. About an hour ago with that. Yeah, yeah, did pretty good. Well, uh, a guy that works with us also works at a Mexican restaurant, and he makes these. I think Taco Bell uses a flour tortilla, but anyway, he brought a whole bunch of these like 6-inch flat corn tortillas or whatever. So I went and got some refried beans, some hamburger, taco seasoning. So I made up the hamburger like I would for tacos. So I put some refried beans on the tortilla, some of the hamburger mixture. Then I put another tortilla on top of that, sandwich that like they do at Taco Bell. Then I put some red enchilada sauce on top with some diced tomatoes, black olives, and a taco blend of cheese, and then put those in the oven for, I don't know, it took about 6 minutes or so in the oven for the cheese was good and melted. Turned out pretty good. Pretty good. What's up, big dog? I got a ton of these shells. That's why I was trying to figure out something to do. I mean, I got a freaking stack of these shells this freaking tall. So I got enough to make. So I got to do something with them. Hey, Gina. Yeah, I had a great weekend. Can't complain. Weather was nice. Had well, I seen y'all last night. Was out and about last night. Ate some Boston butt. back at it tomorrow. You do got to work tomorrow, Solitaire. I was wondering. I couldn't remember. I could not remember if you said you had to work tomorrow or not. Me too. I got son's got a dentist appointment in the morning at 9 o'clock, 8:55, whatever. Where they came up with 8:55 at, but so a dentist appointment in the morning, then back at it. It's supposed to be upper 70s all week, I do believe. I like the nightlife. I like the boogie. Ba, ba, ba. My music hits me so hard, makes me tell you, oh Lord. You're already in it. I don't know. It all depends. Out there was somebody. I was just filling in for somebody that couldn't make it. Couldn't be there because they didn't have nobody at all to drive. But not tomorrow anyway. I think there's one guy that's supposed to be scheduled all week, but he already said he ain't gonna be able to work. So I already told him, I said if he can't come in every day, I'll come in early. Like I say, tomorrow I got a dentist appointment tomorrow, so I'll probably go after that. So I'll probably go in as soon as we're done. It might take a little bit longer tomorrow. They got to add that bracket back. What's up, Chiefin? Just in time. I was just down taking a little chief myself. Ain't much to it, man. Sitting here and seeing what's going on. I roll on here for a little while, wind down the weekend. But right on time. Must have damn smelt it. Fuck, I don't even know what it is. Fucking weed in the baggie. Weed in the baggie. I don't know. I didn't get a name with it. I do got this little pen though. I got this pen that's got some I do have a name for this one. This is some Granddaddy. I got some Granddaddy Perp and a little pen. You got Android. I use an Android on my phone. Now, as far as the live, I don't know if you're talking about the live. Now, I'm on a HP. I'm on a laptop. I'm on a laptop right now on the live, but I use an Android. I use an Android phone. What's that guy love Mondays, weekends, not long? Yeah, I know it should be the other way around. We should have 5 days off and 3 days on, 2 days on, whatever. Should be the other way around. Work Wednesday and Thursday. Yeah, that'd be about right. Work Wednesday and Thursday, or Tuesday and Wednesday. Work Tuesday and Wednesday and have all the other days off. That'd be nice, right? What else? What else? Let's see. We got 7, 8, 10 people in here. Where's everybody at? Y'all jump up in the chats. Let me know what you're working with, what you're drinking on, What you sipping on? What you have for dinner? What'd you have for dinner, Salt there? Anything special tonight? Uh, no one knew you had some fried potatoes in the mix somewhere. Hey, Suzanne, what's going on? Welcome in, welcome in. Going to get some iced coffee. Right on, right on. I'm drinking my iced beer. Whoosh. What Solitaire say? Bacon, eggs, and fried potatoes. You got it. Hell yeah, I know it. I know it. I like the nightlife. I like the boogie. So we had the Mexican tacos. Which is pretty. I got enough of all that stuff I made. I don't really want to have that again tomorrow, so I want to come up with something. I'll crumble up, make a taco salad or something tomorrow, maybe. With the rest of it. All right, Suzanne. Yeah, I had sent you the link, Solitaire. I was thinking you was off this Monday for some reason. I don't know. What do I know? I don't see. Yeah, where's Polly? Polly will probably be around. Oh, I haven't checked the post office this weekend, Chiefin, but I'll check it. I'll check it tomorrow on my way home. On my way home from work, I'll stop in. Oh yeah, I'll check it. I can't remember if I checked it Friday. I think I checked it Friday, so it won't nothing there Friday. So I'll check it tomorrow. Small slaps. Miss some damn slaps, y'all. There's Polly. They should be there. Okay, I'll check. I'll check tomorrow. They should be there. All right, brother. Crash, man. I gotta get up early for work. Have a good night. Stay, Chief, and yeah, have a good night too, Chief. Appreciate you. Chiefing right now. All right, might have a little mail to open up tomorrow. Then we'll do a little mail call tomorrow. I'll check either in the morning or on my way. Probably it's easier on my way home, I guess. I like the nightlife. I like the boogie. Can't remember how long I ended up percolating last night. Boot finally came on after everybody left, but I was about out of by then. It was about too many beers in by then. I had to go. I had to lay it down. But I did stay on for a little while. I like the night lights. I like the boogie. Gonna start gathering up my stuff, my little project I got it damn in mind. Yeah, I was trying to. So it's 3:30 when you jumped off solitaire. Yeah, it was. It was. It won't. It was a little while after that. Cheryl left, or you and Cheryl might have left about the same time, or did leave at the same time. I think y'all both kind of left at the same time. Yeah, definitely late. I think you had some people over late or something. I ain't even sure, Gina. I can't remember. I don't know. What time did I come? What time did I come? What time did I start? Let me see. What time did I message? Let me see what time I messaged Solitaire to tell her to see if you wanted to link. So I started around 11. 11, and we went 6 hours. So 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So about 5 o'clock in the morning. Oh yeah, plus the time changed. Well, I still went 5 hours. That was actually 6 o'clock because of the damn hour thing. So yeah, it was only about 6 hours. So it went about 5, 6 o'clock. Uh-huh. Don't let it get around. I hear you. Yeah, it's still Sunday here, probably. Oh, is it Woman's? Is it Woman's Day? Well, happy Woman's Day, women. Yeah, I had just started about the time you came on. 'Cause I sent you. I told you I told you got to link it like a quarter till, but I forgot to send the link. So yeah, right on, right on. What kind of project? It's top secret. It's top secret project. I don't know. I got something in mind yet. I ain't sure yet. But wait a minute. See if it's gonna work like I want to do it. I'll tell you right now, it involves mirrors. So be prepared. It involves mirrors. Oh, that was the earlier one, Gina. 6 hours. Shit, that won't nothing. Yeah, all kinds of different stuff, Gina. Oh, wow. Oh, yeah, it did. That it did. But yeah, Gene, I go like see a Friday night. We went almost 7 hours. Uh, last Friday, the last Thursday, we went 8 hours. Ain't nothing to go 7, 8, 9 hours. Yeah, it got kind of twisted. I believe it did. It did get a little on the twisted side. I was here after Boot left because he had no. Yeah, but I think he come back, Polly, because I think I talked to Boot for a little bit. He finally got some sound. Or unless his sound went out again. I can't remember, Polly, but I remember talking to him for a little bit. So at some point in time, we got the sound situation working. I think he came back. Like he went out and came back in or something. I'll be right back, y'all. Oh, well, that's cool. I might have some mail to open up tomorrow. Chiefin sent me some slaps, and if you don't know what slaps are, because I didn't know what they were to begin with, because I've seen people over in that community talking about sending each other slaps. I was like, what the fuck's a slap? But Chiefin finally let me know, school me on what slaps are. It's like kind of like what Bud sent me, the little stickers and stuff. So Chiefin's gonna send me some slaps. Or he has sent me some. They should be here. Oh my God, I would have a hard time chatting with my best friend for 8 hours. I guess it's me. I'm just not. I hear you, Gina. It's all good. It's all good. And then when you got different people come in at different times, it opens up a whole, because it's not always the same group the whole time. Sometimes it is. Sometimes it's pretty much the same people for the whole. But last night, like Cheryl came in, 801 came up for a little while. Cheryl came up on the panel. Boot came up on the panel later on. Uh, I think that's all that came up on the panel last night was 801 and Cheryl. And oh, Youper. Yeah, thank you, Solitaire. Youper. Youper come up for a while. That was fun. Yeah, Youper. Youper kind of surprised me a little bit talking about some of his shit he did back in the days. He didn't strike me as that type of dude. Some of the talking about the music and the wild days and stuff. I don't remember exactly where I was going, but it didn't strike him. The old long haired type fucker or whatever. I think he said something about long hair too. He just didn't strike me as the old long haired rocker. I don't know why. Yeah, Bobo didn't come now. Bobo didn't come on the panel last night. Bobo did come up a few weeks ago and stayed up for a good little while. That's probably been a month or so ago now. Speaking of Bobo, didn't see him at night yet. He's like a shy puppy. All right. Oops. He's got the whole world in his hand. What's up, Polly? BRB. On a BRB, BOB. Polly goes on a B-B. Got the whole world in his hand. Excuse me, huh? So Solitaire, you said it was nice when you walk, huh? A nice walk this evening. It was nice here. It started raining a little bit late this afternoon. 6 o'clock or so, it rained for a little while. And I had went out to the store. Yeah, right, Solitaire. Yeah, Bobo. Yes, Bobo. Hello, Bobo. What about you, Gina? You getting close to some walking weather, hopefully? Nothing but sunshine, upper 50s. Yeah, we was upper 70s. Upper 70s. Yeah, I think it's in the 60s right now. It's like 60, it's like 63 degrees right now, 11 o'clock at night. Oh, I'm in the damn. It don't matter. It got dark, but I meant to see what time it actually got dark this evening. What we got tomorrow, 77, 81, 85. It's going to cool back off Thursday and Friday. Other than that, it's supposed to be real nice. Right on. What's up, Boot? It's a thought, sir, for sure. Got the whole world in our hands. Anyway, check out what's up. Cheers. Cheers, everybody. What are they doing? Oh, I guess it's his. The sun's still up in there. I guess he's staying up. But he ain't got to get up early. As early. What's going on, Boot? What you into? You in the shop? Time is 11 o'clock. He'll probably be passing through in a minute. I still ain't checked this little thing, this QR thing from Sage. Oh yeah, Gina. Yeah, got to be about out of it. Let's see. Got to scan this little code from Sage. 10. Okay. Okay, there we go. There we go. Dun, 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 dun. Okay. Oh, she's talking about doing music. Okay. Checking out this thing Sage sent me. Cause she sent me a thing she's supposed to be starting back up. She had some kind of page. She used to sell stuff. I'm gonna like subscribe to it or something. Okay. I don't know, I figured I'd let her start. I'm having back problems, so I haven't been able to walk. You getting older? Oh yeah, that sucks. That sucks. Yeah, I know the feeling. My back getting old. Damn knees. That's what worse than that left knee gives me a bit. I think that's what's happened to me that night when somebody, that possum ran through here and knocked me down. I think my left knee fucking went out on me. Old Jimmy leg. Jimmy knee. Jimmy, what's up, boot? Cheers. Oh, and I got rid of boot. Yeah, cheers. I don't think and I think it was a head cold too. It won't. I don't think it had nothing to do with the pollen or my allergies because I was out in it all day yesterday, and for the most part. And but yeah, I ain't been having it. Ain't been sneezing and all that shit. Ain't been out here. I feel whatever I had pretty much gone. Pretty much out of me, I do believe. So whatever it was, it's out of me now. Yeah, I ain't been sneezing or I don't even know if I sneezed today at all. No. Yeah. Yeah, when he knocked me down, moved my chair out of the way. No, he possibly run through the house. Allegedly. Allegedly. Allegedly ran through there and knocked me down when I was trying to sit down. But yeah, oh yeah. Years of construction. Years of doing construction, old knees are seeing their better days, but they're still there. They're still doing knee things. Well, oh, well, yes. Well, I don't know. I don't know if it's a project yet. I don't want to jump the gun on it just yet. But it's going to involve some mirrors and some glass and some lights. Yeah, I thought it was, Gina. All right, you out for real, though, Solitaire? Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Yeah, it's going to involve mirrors. A mirror, anyway. At least a mirror. But I got to get some things together, make sure it's going to work properly before I give out too many details. So it might be a bust. Might be a bust. I hate you too, sweetie. Uh, I'll holler at you tomorrow or something. Have a good night. Good day at work. All that good stuff. I was thinking about what I can do with some more of these damn fucking things. Good night, big dogs of solitaire. What up? All right, solitaire. Peace. Good seeing you as always. Have a good night. I'll let you tomorrow. Hey, Slim, it's Henry. What up? What's up, Henry? What's going on, Henry? What you up to? That boy's into. Oh, yeah. Cheers, Henry. Shout out to Henry. Henry in the house. Right on. Tackle tomorrow. Tackle that motherfucker. Make tomorrow your bitch. What y'all boys into? You know, hanging out up at the shop? Yeah. Make Monday. I'm gonna make Monday my bitch. That's what I'm gonna do. That's what I'm gonna do. That motherfucker. Say that now, right? Nah, we got it. We good. Da-da-da-da. Good night, Polly, when you view out BRB. Never know what Polly's BRBs sometimes can be. Might be tomorrow. Or it might be 15 minutes later. But night she's on the town. So sugar to the sweets. Well, we call this Kingstown. Oh, what's the down? Got the jam. Just think I did a short about winning the lottery. Did I make it public yet? Might not be public. Hold on. Just may remind me to check my damn. Yeah, I did. Oh, I got 3,273 views. One comment. Da 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 da. What's up, 7 people? What's going on, 7 folks? Welcome in. Welcome in. Welcome in. What was I doing here? Oh, I was checking something here. Checking the damn. Why they give me all this other fucking shit? Before North Carolina, I don't understand. Yeah. Florida lottery. Yeah. Anyway, I never checked my numbers last night. Well, I didn't do every shit. Nope. Mark's safe from not winning the lottery again today. Maybe tomorrow. Maybe tomorrow. What's happening? 8 folks in the house. What's going on? What's going down? What's everybody into? What's everybody drinking on? Sipping on? Toking on? Who we still got here? Solitaire's done cashed in her ticket, as did Gina. There's Polly. Tired going to shut. Oh, you out, Polly? All right. Well, Solitaire said, what's up? But yeah, I hear you, Polly. You tired, man. Get you some shut eye. It's late there. I don't know if y'all even move. Did y'all move y'all's clocks too? I guess y'all moved clocks also, right? But anyway, 4 o'clock in the morning. Feel you? Feel the pain. Yeah. Hey, hang around for a little while. Small scale first. Dun, 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 dun. What we got? Who we got? Where we got? Whose wine? What wine? How the hell do I dine? Dun, 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 dun. Those two. No. Music hits me so hard. What's that? Who we got up in the house? What's happening, everybody? How's everybody doing this evening? Oh shit! What's the date? Date the 8th. Shit. Okay, about this shit. I fuck with it a minute anyway. Today's the 8th. I should have done that yesterday. Anyway, enough of that. Check some of that shit later. So everybody's out. Polly's out now. We lost Polly. We lost Solitaire. We lost Gina. Boot and Henry. What the hell y'all up to? Who else? Somebody else was here earlier. Who was it? Oh, Watts. Watts has just been coming in lately and just saying what's up and leaving and not really saying nothing again. Chiefin was here. Chiefin's out. Suzanne out. That's it. Got 6 up in the house. Over 21. I'm fucking yawning. I'm yawning. I'm around for a little bit longer. Yeah. Start with. It's time for me to fly. Time for me to write a check. Pay to the order. Pay to the. Oh, I didn't say pay to. I was supposed to say pay to order. It's pay to the check of Slam Cricket YouTube Live. It's blank. Got a blank check, y'all. What should we fill in? What should the amount be? No date. No date, and it's blank. It's already signed. What should we do? Could we do? What should we do? Dun, 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 dun. dun, dun, dun. What's up? Cheers. Cheers for beers. Tears for beers. Here. That don't change over here. Good here for right now. Okay. I like that. I like it like that. Sunday night check. Oh, that check's always fucked up. You wrote Sunday night check in the wrong spot. Can't use that check. That check's gonna be null and void. Check is no mas good. My music hits me so hard. Makes me say, oh my lord. Da, 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 da. Da, 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 da. Let's do it. Oh boy. I'm full. Two damn pizzas. Pass. Oh, got to get this down. Never ending battle here. Paper shredder. Incinerator. My music hits me so hard. Makes me say, oh my lord. I ain't got anything. I've been downloading some stuff so I can get back to it. If I got anything worthy of looking at, check my YouTube here. What's up? I found all that shit out. I found it. Where did I find my damn downloads at? Oh, maybe it's here. wonder what about the windmills right here. Let's see. Well, makes sense. What do I got? Downloads up. That's bullshit. Let's see, I'm on my computer, so download them on my computer. Download something over here and see if it changes. Okay, I downloaded it out. Go see it. Maybe. Oh, right there. Now I see it. It ain't nothing. Thanks to downloaded today. Oh, no. See some shit today. This is it. Hold on. Something I watched the other day. Okay, find it. Shit. I don't know. Oh, it's something on there. Curious how this does better with new internet. Try it out. We got the optics going here. What the hell's going on there? Oh, that's when I ain't hooked up the fucking internet yet. Shit. That's alright. That's alright, mama. That's alright for me. That's alright, mama. Do it this way, I guess. Let's see what the buffered situation is with this new internet situation. Until stuff's moving. Until things are moving faster, for sure. What's up? Cheers. Oh, yeah. Wake up now. Let's see. Where was that at? Here. Alright, so that seems to be going faster. That's definitely faster. Let's see if it buffers out or not. See how it does with buffered.
And we are celebrating the 100th birthday of America's most famous highway. It is 2026, and we are celebrating the 100th birthday of America's most famous highway. There is just one problem. Route 66 has not officially existed for 41 years. The road died in 1985, but somehow it is more famous now than when it was alive. How does that happen? Here's the entire story, from Muddy Nightmare to American Legend. Let's start at the beginning. It's the early 1920s, and America has a road problem. Actually, America has a road disaster. After World War I, suddenly everyone's buying cars, lots and lots of cars. But the roads are a complete mess. There are disconnected local roads, unmarked paths, and trails that change names every time you cross a state line. It's chaos. The federal government looks at this disaster and says, we need to fix this. So they decide to create a unified, numbered highway system. Makes sense, right? A businessman from Tulsa named Cyrus Avery gets involved. Avery is a highway commissioner in Oklahoma, and he has a vision. He wants to build a highway that connects Chicago to Los Angeles, running right through the Southwest. This will open up the entire region to development and tourism. It's brilliant. Avery wants to call his highway Route 60. Sounds important, sounds official, but Kentucky throws a fit. They want Route 60 for themselves. There's a political battle. Bureaucrats arguing with bureaucrats. Avery is told he cannot have Route 60 because Kentucky already claimed it. He pushes for that number, but he is told he will get Route 66 instead. Nobody thinks Route 66 will be memorable. Fine, Route 66 it is, not as catchy, but whatever. On April 30th, 1926, the number 66 was officially assigned. Then, on November 11th, 1926, Route 66 was formally established. America has a new highway. Officially, congratulations everyone. But here's the catch. This is mostly just on paper. The highway that has been officially established is actually dirt roads, gravel paths, and big dreams. The route is supposed to run 2,448 miles through 8 states: Illinois, Missouri, Kansas, Oklahoma, Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, and California. Miles. Why build this thing? It will connect the agricultural Midwest to markets on the West Coast. It is the shortest year-round route between Chicago and Los Angeles. Plus, it is the roaring 20s. America is booming. The automobile has gone from a luxury toy to an absolute necessity, and the nation needs infrastructure to match. For the small towns in the Southwest, especially in Oklahoma, this highway is economic salvation. Tourism and commerce are coming to save them. Great. America has a new highway. There is just one problem. It does not actually exist yet. So, Route 66 is officially established in 1926. But what does that actually mean on the ground? Not much. Most of the highway is dirt. When it rains, that dirt turns into mud. Impassable, sticky, nightmare mud. Large portions are completely unpaved. Some sections are gravel, if you are lucky. This is going to take a while to fix. Building a continuous paved highway from Chicago to Los Angeles took more than a decade. And the work was brutal. This was construction done mostly by hand, before modern heavy equipment.
If they got it done in a decade, it'd take them 500 years to do it now, the way slow as they are about doing shit.
Was everywhere. How did they build a highway? With picks, shovels, and wheelbarrows. Workers broke rock by hand. They moved earth manually. When concrete needed to be poured, it was mixed on site in small batches. Everything was back-breaking labor, and the conditions were terrible. Deserts of Arizona and New Mexico, workers were laying road in temperatures above 110 degrees. In Illinois and Missouri, they worked through freezing winters. There was no safety equipment because there were no safety standards. OSHA did not exist yet. Accidents happened all the time. The workers were earning a few dollars a day. Many of them were migrants, unemployed men desperate for any work. They lived in temporary camps in remote locations with primitive conditions. It was miserable. But then something unexpected happened. In 1929, the economy collapsed. The Great Depression hit, and suddenly millions of people were out of work. Ironically, this sped up Route 66. The federal government created work programs, the Works Progress Administration and the Civilian Conservation Corps. They poured money into highway construction as a jobs program. Men who had lost everything, their farms, their businesses, their savings, were now building Route 66.
What up, Doc? Sitting here watching some Route 66 right quick. Mainly want to test and see with this new internet. I'm watching on my phone. It looks like the video seems to be playing pretty good. But anyway, what's going on, everybody? Paulie, Boot, Big Dog, what's up?
6 as a lifeline. You lost your farm? Here's a shovel. Welcome to Route 66. At least it was work, right? Yes, at least it was work. So here's the timeline. In 1926, Route 66 was officially designated, but it was mostly unpaved. In 1929 and 1930, paving accelerated because it was an employment program. In 1933, the New Deal pumped massive federal investment into the project. And finally, in 1938, Route 66 became fully paved from end to end. It was the first completely paved cross-country highway in America. But even after 1938, the work continued. The road was constantly being improved, widened, and straightened throughout the 1940s and the 1950s. Route 66 was never really finished. So after 12 years of back-breaking work, America finally had a real highway. And it was about to become legendary. Route 66 is finally paved, and right away it gets tested. In the 1930s, the Dust Bowl arrives. Massive dust storms devastate Oklahoma, Texas, and Arkansas. Farms are destroyed, and the land is dead. Hundreds of thousands of people pack up and head west on Route 66. Their jalopies are loaded with everything they own: families, furniture, hope. They are all heading to California. John Steinbeck writes about them in The Grapes of Wrath, and he calls Route 66 the Mother Road. The nickname sticks. The highway becomes a symbol of both desperation and hope. Then, World War II happens. Military convoys thunder down Route 66 to training bases and to ports. Defense industries boom in California, and workers stream westward. Route 66 becomes a wartime lifeline. After the war, something magical happens. Americans discover leisure travel. The road trip becomes a thing, and Route 66 gets covered in the most amazing roadside culture you've ever seen. We are talking about quirky motels with glowing neon signs, mom and pop diners serving pie and coffee, bizarre tourist attractions, giant dinosaurs, buildings shaped like teepees, trading posts everywhere, service stations every few miles. It is wild and it is wonderful. In 1946, a guy named Bobby Troup writes a song called Get Your Kicks on Route 66. Nat King Cole records it. It becomes an anthem.
Okay.
Route 66 is now peak American freedom and prosperity. The 1950s are the glory years. The economy is booming. Everyone is buying cars.
Right on, Docs. I thought I could tell it was AI because he's messed up it said some stuff wrong. I tell it's AI. AI voice. It's slow, yeah.
Thousands of small businesses are thriving along the highway. Entire towns exist just to serve travelers. Route 66 is living the dream. But in 1956, President Eisenhower signs the Interstate Highway Act. And here is the irony. Route 66's success is about to kill it. The new interstates are designed for efficiency. They are straight, wide, and fast, with limited access. Instead of going through towns, they bypass them completely. 5 interstates start replacing Route 66, Interstate 55, Interstate 44, Interstate 40, Interstate 15, and Interstate 10. As each segment of interstate opens, the traffic on Route 66 vanishes. Towns that have thrived for decades suddenly find themselves bypassed. Where did all the cars go? They are on the interstate, 5 miles away. Motels close. Diners shutter. Gas stations go bankrupt. Communities that were bustling yesterday become ghost towns almost overnight. It is systematic. It is relentless. It is brutal. On October 13, 1984, Williams, Arizona becomes the last town on Route 66 to be bypassed. Then, on June 27, 1985, Route 66 is officially decommissioned as a United States highway. Signs come down. Maps get updated. The Mother Road is dead, and that's where the story should end. But it doesn't. It is 1987. Route 66 has been dead for 2 years. But in Seligman, Arizona, a barber named Angel Delgadillo is not having it. No, we are not letting this die. Not on my watch. Delgadillo organizes the historic Route 66 Association of Arizona. It is a grassroots movement. He starts lobbying to preserve the road, to mark it, to save it. And it works. Other states see what Arizona is doing, and they follow. Historic Route 66 associations start forming everywhere. Brown signs appear along the old highway that say Historic Route 66. The road is being marketed as a tourist attraction now. People are getting nostalgic. By the 1990s, there is real momentum. Americans want authentic road trips from a simpler time. They want to experience what their grandparents experienced. So, preservation efforts intensify. Old neon signs get restored. Vintage motels get renovated. Communities work to save their Route 66 heritage. The National Park Service creates the Route 66 Corridor Preservation Program. States start designating portions as scenic byways. This thing is coming back to life. Then, in 2006, Pixar releases Cars. The movie was inspired by research trips along Route 66. It introduces the highway to a whole new generation of kids, and suddenly, international tourists are making Route 66 pilgrimages. People from Europe and Japan are flying to America just to drive this road. Now it is 2026. Route 66 is turning 100 years old. It has been officially dead for 41 years, but it is very much alive. About 85% of the original route can still be driven. The Centennial is huge. There are major celebrations happening across all 8 states. Chicago has new monuments and centennial markers. Illinois received $6.6 million in grants for improvements and electric vehicle charging stations. Oklahoma has over 400 continuous drivable miles and just built a 66-foot-tall fiberglass dinosaur. New Mexico has an 18-mile stretch through Albuquerque with restored motels and augmented reality experiences. There is a push to designate Route 66 as a National Historic Trail. The Postal Service is making commemorative stamps. So, what is it like to drive Route 66 today? It is time travel. You will see restored Art Deco motels with glowing neon, vintage gas stations converted into museums, fresh murals, roadside giants, the blue whale of Catoosa, classic drive-in theaters, diners serving pie. But it is not a theme park, it is authentic. You will also find abandoned buildings with caved-in roofs, faded signs, crumbling pavement, ghost towns where nature is reclaiming the asphalt. The contrast between restored and decaying tells the complete story. The Centennial Kickoff runs from April 29th to May 3rd, 2026. Tourism is surging. People from around the world are making the pilgrimage. Communities are investing heavily because they have figured something out. Route 66 is more valuable as heritage than it ever was as a highway. So, what does Route 66 mean a century later? Route 66 is bigger than asphalt and concrete. It embodies American mobility, optimism, and reinvention. The highway carried Dust Bowl refugees to new lives. It carried servicemen to war and families on vacation. It created the roadside culture we take for granted today. And in 2026, in an increasingly digital world, people are seeking connection to a tangible past. The highway that was declared dead in 1985 is thriving as memory, experience, and legend. So here is the paradox we started with. The most famous road in America does not officially exist, and that is exactly why it will never die. Subscribe for more videos like this one. Here is Detroit in 1900. It is
1900. Detroit in 1900. That might be interesting. It's 14 minutes long. Anyway, what's up, Doc? What's going on? I got a damn, I don't know if it's in here. Might be in my shed. Maybe I do, man. Well, I think I got one of them old Route 66 signs. It's not an old one. Not real old. It's not old from back then, but retro or whatever. I think I had one. I thought I had one anyway at one time. Not behind me on my wall, no. Not back here. Anyway, I was watching on my phone. That video seemed to be playing just fine without skipping. At least it looked like it was anyway. The internet. Let's save the day. Here I am to save the day. So you said, What'd you say, Doc? You said you got one more week to your holiday? Right on. Right on. How long of a holiday you got? That's awesome. Awesome for you. Anyway. Maybe go grab me another cold snack, I guess. Maybe look a little bit at this. What's this entire story of Detroit's golden age in 14 minutes? Yeah, why not? Why not? Find out what's going on. Dun, dun, dun. Yep, let me have a cold snack. I'll be right back. All right, what's up? What's going on? What's happening? Let's see what they're talking about over here.
The city that makes stoves and cigars and other boring stuff that nobody remembers. Sure, Detroit is doing fine. It has factories and workers and everything a normal American city is supposed to have. But there is nothing special about it. It is basically just another place where people make things and hope they do not get bored to death. Then, in 1903, a man named Henry Ford started the Ford Motor Company. 5 years later, he introduced the Model T. Now, this was not just a car. This was freedom with wheels. Before the Model T, cars were expensive toys for rich people. But Ford had a different idea. What if regular people could afford cars? What if everyone could own one? So Ford made the Model T simple, cheap, and reliable. People loved it. But there was a problem. Building cars took forever. In 1913, it took about 12 hours to build a single car. That is slow. That is really slow. Ford needed a better way. He looked at his factory and asked, what if instead of workers moving to the car moved to the workers? And that is how the moving assembly line was born. Now it took 93 minutes to build a car. Let me say that again. 12 hours became 93 minutes. That is not an improvement. That is a revolution. Ford could make cars faster than anyone imagined. Fast production meant lower prices, and lower prices meant more customers. In 1914, Henry Ford announced the company would pay workers $5 a day. Other factory owners thought he had lost his mind. $5 a day was more than double what most factory workers made. They warned him he would go bankrupt. Ford said instead he would get rich, and he would make his workers rich too. Ford understood something other bosses did not. If you pay workers well, they can afford to buy your products. Happy workers do not quit, so Ford secured a stable workforce and customers at the same time. Genius. And then everyone wanted to work in Detroit. People came from the South, from Europe, and from farms and small towns across America. African Americans fled the segregated South during the Great Migration looking for jobs and dignity. Immigrants arrived speaking dozens of languages. Detroit welcomed them all because Detroit needed workers, lots and lots of workers. Meanwhile, other car companies were popping up everywhere. General Motors consolidated under William Durant and later Alfred Sloan. Chrysler emerged in 1925. By the 1920s, Detroit was producing most of America's automobiles. The city was booming. And here's the thing. Detroit was not just making cars. Detroit was making millionaires out of factory workers. The 1920s arrive, and Detroit absolutely explodes. In 1910, the city had about 400 to 65,000 people. By 1930, it had over 1.5 million. That is a lot of people looking for the American dream. And in Detroit, they were actually finding it. Auto workers were making real money. Money to buy a house. Money to buy a car. Money to send their kids to school. This was not just employment. This was the middle class being born right before everyone's eyes. And when people have money, they spend it. Woodward Avenue became basically America's greatest boulevard. Grand shops lined the street. People dressed up just to go shopping. Detroit looked like Paris, but with more cars and fewer mimes. The city's cultural scene was exploding too. Jazz clubs popped up all over Paradise Valley and along Hastings Street. Musicians from across the country heard that Detroit was the place to be. Hey, I heard there's good money in Detroit. There's
Detroit, Rock City. Get up. What's up? What's going on? Hey, Rickster. Cheers.
great money in Detroit, and the people actually have money to spend on music. I'm packing my trumpet. In 1928, the Fox Theater opened. Now this was not just a theater, this was a palace. We are talking elaborate decorations, stunning architecture, and seats for over 5,000 people. Detroit was not building practical buildings anymore. Detroit was building monuments. The Detroit Institute of Arts was already around, but it kept growing during this time. And in the early 1930s, Diego Rivera showed up to paint his famous Detroit industry murals. Rivera looked at Detroit's factories and saw beauty. He painted assembly lines and workers and machines as if they were sacred, because in Detroit they kind of were. Then there is Albert Kahn, the architect of Detroit. Kahn designed hundreds of buildings. And we are not talking about boring boxes. Kahn designed factories that looked like cathedrals of industry. He designed the buildings where the cars were made, and the buildings where the car makers spent their money. Downtown Detroit filled up with Art Deco skyscrapers. The Guardian Building had colorful tilework and Aztec-inspired designs. The Penobscot Building towered over everything. The Fisher Building was so beautiful, people called it Detroit's largest art object. These buildings were not just places to work. They were statements. They said, we are Detroit, we are rich, and we are never going away. Every new skyscraper was another victory monument in the war for industrial supremacy. And Detroit was winning. The city built like it would be on top forever. Everything is great, right? Well, mostly. But we will get to that later. Then the Great Depression arrives and Detroit gets hit hard. Turns out, people don't buy cars when they can't afford bread. Unemployment soared. Production plummeted. Factories that used to run 3 shifts now sat quiet and empty. The party was over. But here's the thing. Detroit's factories were still there, big, empty, and waiting. And while the 1930s were rough, something important was happening. Workers were organizing. The United Auto Workers started fighting for better conditions and job security. In the late 1930s, they staged sit-down strikes. Workers would occupy the factories and refuse to leave. The factory owners were furious. You can't just take over our property. Watch us. We built your cars. We made you rich. Now we want our fair share. The battles were bitter. There were fights. There were arrests. There was violence. But eventually, the unions won major victories. And those victories created the framework for the middle-class prosperity that would define the next decades. The fights were ugly, but they made the prosperity possible. Then, in 1941, everything changed. World War II arrived, and suddenly America needed weapons. Lots and lots of weapons. And who had the biggest factories in America? That's right, Detroit. So, Detroit's car factories converted to military production. And they did it fast. Ford's Willow Run plant started making B-24 bombers. These were massive 4-engine aircraft. Each one weighed 36,000 pounds empty. At peak production, Willow Run was cranking out 1 bomber every single hour.
Damn.
1 per hour. That's insane.
Wow, 1 plane an hour. That is insane. In that time, that's even hard to fucking even fathom. 1 fucking plane an hour. Wow.
Chrysler started making tanks. General Motors made aircraft engines and guns. The entire city transformed into a war machine. President Franklin Roosevelt called Detroit the arsenal of democracy. Detroit lived up to that name. While other cities were holding war bond drives and scrap metal collections, Detroit was building the actual war. The scale of Detroit's contribution was staggering. By some estimates, Detroit produced nearly 30% of all American military production during the war, 30% from one city. Britain needed weapons? Detroit. Russia needed trucks? Detroit. The Pacific needed bombers? Detroit. The city that had put America on wheels was now putting the Allies in tanks and planes. Detroit basically won the war for America. Okay, that is an exaggeration, but not a big one. The war ends in 1945. Detroit is a hero. The factories are still humming. The workers are ready. And now it is time to get really rich. The war ends, and Americans had been saving money for years. They couldn't buy much during the war because everything went to the military. But now the war is over, and people have cash burning holes in their pockets. And they all wanted cars. New cars. Big cars. Cars with chrome and fins and engines that roared. The big three, Ford, General Motors, and Chrysler, dominated global automotive production. If you wanted a car anywhere in the world, it probably came from Detroit. In 1950, Detroit's population hit its peak at about 1.85 million people. That made it America's 4th largest city. But it wasn't just big. It was rich. Detroit had the highest median income of any major American city. It had the highest rate of home ownership. This wasn't a city of renters and dreamers. This was a city of owners and achievers. Auto workers, backed by strong unions, earned middle-class wages. Real middle-class wages. They bought houses in neighborhoods with actual yards. They sent their kids to college. They took vacations. They had leisure time. This was the American dream, and it was real, and it was happening in Detroit. The city's public schools were well regarded. The parks were magnificent. Belle Isle was like having a resort in the middle of your city. The shopping district on Woodward Avenue rivaled anything in New York or Chicago. People came to Detroit to see how a modern American city should look. And Detroit's cultural dominance just kept growing. The blues scene was world-class. The jazz scene was legendary. Musicians who made it in Detroit could make it anywhere. Then, in 1959, a young man named Berry Gordy Jr. borrowed $800 and founded Motown Records. Detroit was about to teach America how to dance. Motown would give the world the Supremes, Marvin Gaye, Stevie Wonder, and dozens of other acts that defined American music. But even at the peak, cracks were forming. Back in 1943, race riots had torn through the city, revealing deep racial tensions that prosperity could not solve. After the war, suburbanization started pulling people out of the city. The federal government built highways that made it easy to leave Detroit. Housing policies encouraged white families to move to the suburbs. And the auto industry, comfortable with its dominance, was not paying attention to foreign competitors. Companies like Volkswagen and Toyota were small. No threat at all, right? By the late 1950s, Detroit's golden age was ending. But almost nobody recognized it at the time. Everyone thought Detroit would rule forever. Spoiler alert, it did not. Detroit was on top of the world. But peaks do not last forever. So that's the story. In about 60 years, Detroit went from making stoves and cigars to dominating the world. The legacy is still there. Those Art Deco skyscrapers still stand downtown. Motown's music still plays everywhere, and people still remember when Detroit was the city that put the world on wheels. The golden age was real. Industrial innovation, strong labor unions, and economic opportunity combined to create one of the greatest cities in American history. What came after? Well, that's a different story. But for those golden decades, Detroit really was golden. Not bad for a city that started by making stoves. Subscribe for more videos.
Little soup. What's inside the camel?
C-A-M-E-L, yes.
30,000 people. In the world of modern manufacturing, that number sounds impossible for a single location, but in Winston-Salem, it was just the baseline of existence. Every morning,
This is Winston-Salem. This is in North Carolina. I didn't realize didn't realize it was going to be here.
human tide larger than the population of most American mid-sized towns flowed into a single square mile of North Carolina red clay. They didn't just go to work. They entered a city-state built entirely of red brick and golden leaf. This was the headquarters of the R.J. Reynolds Tobacco Company, the epicenter of an industrial empire that redefined the American South and put a cigarette in the pocket of half the planet. For nearly a century, this wasn't just a place where products were made, it was the pulse of a community. If you lived here, you were a part of the Reynolds family, a term that wasn't a corporate slogan, but a literal description of the town's DNA. The factory was the sun, and the city was the planet orbiting around it. It dictated when people woke up, when they ate, and how they spent their weekends. The air itself carried the weight of the industry, a sweet, heavy, and unmistakable scent of cured tobacco that clung to clothes, curtains, and skin. To the outsiders, it was a smell. To the locals, it was the smell of a mortgage paid and a future secured. The geography of Winston-Salem is a testament to this dominance. While other industrial hubs hid their factories on the outskirts, Camel City built its cathedrals of industry right in the center of town. These weren't just functional buildings. They were architectural giants. Factory number 64 and its siblings loomed over the skyline, their massive smokestacks piercing the clouds like the minarets of a tobacco religion. The company built the hospitals where the workers were born, the parks where their children played, and the office towers that mimicked the grandest skyscrapers of New York. But industrial dominance on this scale creates a dangerous paradox. When an entire city's survival is tied to a single product, a single brand, and a single set of gates, the stakes are higher than anyone cares to admit. For decades, the machines never stopped. The roar of the rolling lines was the background music of every childhood in the Piedmont. People believed that as long as the world had stress, they would have jobs. They thought the smoke would rise forever. To understand the quiet, gentrified lofts and silent brick shells we see today, we have to travel back to the time when these hallways screamed with the sound of progress. We have to look at the titan of yesterday to understand the ghost of today. This is the story of the rise, the absolute peak, and the inevitable cooling of the machines that once powered an American empire. This is the story of the Camel Factory, the heart that once beat for an entire city, until one day it simply stopped.
Make the Camel 30-day mildness test, and you'll know how mild a cigarette can be.
Industrial empires aren't born from coincidence. They are forged in the cold, hard logic of geography. To understand why Winston-Salem became the tobacco capital of the world, you have to look at a strategic triangle of resources that existed nowhere else on Earth. It was a perfect storm of biology, logistics, and energy that turned a quiet southern town into a global powerhouse. First, we have to talk about the dirt. The North Carolina Piedmont is defined by its red clay soil. To a regular farmer, this clay is a nightmare to plow, but to a tobacco planter, it was a gold mine. This specific soil, combined with the humid climate, allowed for the growth of bright leaf tobacco. Unlike the dark, heavy air-cured tobaccos used for pipes, bright leaf was thin, aromatic, and took on a brilliant golden hue when flue-cured. It was the essential ingredient for the rising cigarette trend of the early 1900s. By building here, R.J. Reynolds was effectively sitting on a throne of raw material. He didn't have to wait for the crop to come to him. He was the center of the harvest. But having the gold is useless if you can't get it to the market. In the 1870s, Winston was landlocked and isolated. Reynolds knew that the only way to build an empire was to harness the power of steam. He didn't just wait for the railroad to arrive. He used his growing influence to ensure the steel tracks of the Southern Railway didn't just pass through the town, they ran directly into the belly of his factories. This created a logistical miracle that was decades ahead of its time. Raw tobacco leaves arrived at one set of loading docks, were processed, and then millions of finished tins and packs rolled out of another set of doors, destined for the ports of Norfolk and then on to London, Paris, and Tokyo. Then there was the question of power. A factory that never sleeps is a hungry beast. The massive machinery needed to roll millions of cigarettes every hour required a staggering amount of energy. The geography provided the answer again. To the west lay the Appalachian coal fields. To the south were the vast hardwood forests that provided the timber for the factory's massive support beams and the fuel for the curing barns. Everything was local. Every resource was within a 100-mile radius. Finally, there was the human geography. Winston was a town of industry, but it sat right next to Salem, a Moravian settlement defined by a culture of extreme discipline, craftsmanship, and work ethic. Reynolds found a workforce that didn't just want a job. They viewed labor as a moral calling. This unique social climate provided the precision needed to run a high-speed industrial complex. 100 years ago, this location was a strategic masterpiece. It was the shortest possible distance between the seed in the red clay and the nickel in the customer's pocket. Reynolds didn't just build a factory. He integrated a machine into the landscape of the South. And as long as the trains ran and the soil stayed red, the people believed the empire would never fall. The red brick towers of the Reynolds Empire weren't erected by architects in ivory towers. They were built by the hands of people who were running away from the mud of poverty. By the turn of the 20th century, Winston-Salem had become a magnet, pulling in two distinct groups of people who had nothing in common except a desperate need for a steady paycheck. First, there were the white farmers from the Appalachian Hills. For generations, these families had scratched out a living in the rocky, unforgiving soil of the mountains. They were at the mercy of the frost, the drought, and the blight. To them, the Reynolds factory wasn't a place of industrial drudgery. It was a sanctuary of stability. A job on the line meant a paycheck every Friday, rain or shine. It meant their children could have shoes that didn't have holes in them. They brought with them a fierce, mountain independence and a rugged stamina that the factory floors demanded. At the same time, the factory became a beacon of hope for black families fleeing the brutal sharecropping systems of the Deep South. In an era defined by Jim Crow and systemic exclusion, R.J. Reynolds did something radical for the time. He hired black workers by the thousands. While the work was strictly segregated and the conditions were undeniably harsh, it represented a rare and vital path to the American middle class. For many black men and women, the Camel Factory was the first place they were ever paid in cold, hard cash instead of scrip or credit at a plantation store. It was the birth of a new economic dignity, forged in the heat of the tobacco processing vats. These workers called themselves tobacco rats, a nickname they wore with a strange, gritty pride. They weren't just employees. They were the founders of industrial dynasties. It was common to see 3 generations of the same family walking through the gates together at dawn. The grandfather who remembered the first steamrollers, the father at the peak of his strength, and the son learning the rhythm of the machines. R.J. Reynolds understood that to keep this massive human army loyal, he had to be more than a boss. He had to be a paternal giant. He built a world where the company took care of you from the cradle to the grave. The company funded the hospitals where the workers' children were born. They built the schools where those children learned to read. They provided low-interest mortgages for the thousands of identical, cozy bungalows that began to line the city street. This was corporate paternalism at its most brilliant and calculated level. The logic was simple. A worker who owes his house, his child's education, and his family's health to the company is a worker who will never strike. Loyalty was baked into the very DNA of Winston-Salem. You didn't just work for Reynolds. You lived in a world created by Reynolds. They traded the fresh, open air of the farms for the thick, brown dust of the factory floors, and in return, they got the promise of a future that felt as solid as the bricks they laid. They were the heartbeat of the city, and as long as they kept moving, the empire was invincible. To understand the Camel Factory, you have to stop looking at it as a building and start seeing it as a living, breathing organism. The day didn't start with a clock. It started with a tectonic blast from the factory whistle at 5:30 a.m. That sound didn't just wake up the workers. It rattled the windows of every house in Winston-Salem, acting as the heartbeat of the entire city. By 6 a.m., the quiet streets transformed into a human river. Thousands of men and women, still shaking off sleep, marched toward the towering red brick gates like a rising tide. Stepping inside was like entering another dimension. The first thing that hit you wasn't the noise, but the atmosphere. The air wasn't just air, it was a thick, humid fog of casing fluid. Imagine a sweet, sticky mist of molasses, licorice, and rum used to flavor the tobacco. It was an aroma so heavy you could almost taste it on your tongue. Then, the silence was shattered. As the massive Bonsack rolling machines roared to life, the roar was so consistent and deafening that it became its own form of silence. Inside the halls, workers had to develop their own culture of survival. They communicated through a specialized form of sign language and lip reading, their voices completely lost to the thunder of the metal gears. Rhythm was the only law on the production floor. Hands moved in a mechanical blur, sorting, stripping stems, and flattening leaves with surgical precision, doing the same motion 10,000 times a shift. By mid-morning, the brick walls turned into an oven. In the humid North Carolina summers, the factory trapped the steam from the processing vats until the air felt heavy enough to swallow. But at noon, the chaos stopped instantly. The lunch whistle created a sudden, ringing silence that felt even louder than the noise it replaced. This was the social lifeblood of the city. Workers would spill out onto the loading docks or the nearby tobacco square, opening metal lunch pails filled with fried chicken, cold biscuits, and black coffee. For 30 minutes, the hierarchy vanished. People traded neighborhood gossip, whispered about union organizers, and shared a quick smoke, ironically, often a hand-rolled one, before the scream of the whistle dragged them back into the machine for the long afternoon stretch. As the sun began to dip behind the smokestacks at 5 p.m., the final whistle signaled a mass liberation. An exhausted sea of gray and blue work clothes flooded back into the street. They carried the scent of the factory home with them, a permanent perfume of tobacco and sweat that marked them as part of the empire. By 6 p.m., the bars were full, the porch swings were moving, and the Camel City rested, only to be jolted awake again 12 hours later. The factory didn't just produce cigarettes. It manufactured a cultural phenomenon that defined the American century. To understand why this brick fortress grew so large, you have to understand the chemistry of the product inside. Before the Camel brand launched in 1913, the tobacco market was a fragmented landscape of harsh pipes, chewing tobacco, and expensive, niche Turkish cigarette. R.J. Reynolds changed the world by creating the American blend. It was a secret, calculated mixture of three distinct leaves: the sweet, flu-cured bright leaf from North Carolina, the nutty burley tobacco from Kentucky, and just a touch of sun-cured Turkish leaf for an exotic aroma. This wasn't just a recipe, it was a revolution. It was the first pre-packaged, mass-produced cigarette that promised total consistency. Whether you were a docker in New Orleans or a lawyer in Boston, a Camel tasted exactly the same every single time. In a world where quality was usually a gamble, Reynolds offered the comfort of the predictable. But a great product needs a legendary face. The marketing department delivered a stroke of genius with Old Joe, a dromedary camel from a traveling circus. They placed him against a backdrop of pyramids and palm trees, creating a package that whispered of adventure and exotic luxury to a working class that rarely traveled beyond their county line. For the price of a few cents, any man could hold a piece of the exotic in his shirt pocket. The real explosion, however, was fueled by gunpowder. During World War I and World War II, the Reynolds factory went into total overdrive. Camels weren't just sold to soldiers. They were officially integrated into the military C rations. The government treated tobacco as a psychological necessity, a tool for morale in the mud of the trenches. An entire generation of young men was effectively on board to the Winston-Salem blend by the United States military. When these men returned home, they didn't just bring back medals. They brought back a lifelong habit and an unbreakable brand loyalty. By the 1950s, the factory was a juggernaut, churning out an incredible 100 million cigarettes every single day to meet a demand that seemed bottomless. The product was the perfect economic engine. It was cheap to make, light to ship, and designed to be consumed and discarded. It wasn't just about the nicotine, it was about the ritual. The flick of the match and the first deep exhale became the universal language of a man taking his 5-minute break from the grind. This was the golden leaf that built the skyscrapers, the hospitals, and the universities of North Carolina. It was a product that was impossible for millions to put down, and for a long time, it seemed like the money would never stop flowing. By the mid-1950s, the R.J. Reynolds factory wasn't just a business, it was a sovereign state of industry. Winston-Salem had become the wealthiest city per capita in the entire southeastern United States, and every single cent of that prosperity could be traced back to the rhythmic hum of the rolling machines. At its absolute peak, the factory complex was a city within a city.
Winston-Salem, how far is that? It's not too far from here. It's only a couple hours. Let's see, I'm about ready to go get well, I ain't quite ready for a cold snack. Just out of curiosity, Winston-Salem is here. I'm thinking about from where I used to stay at, but I think I'm a little closer here than I used to be. Hour and a half. I didn't think it was too far. About an hour and a half. So I could be an hour and a half. I could be where they're talking about. I wonder if there's, he'll probably tell me, I think some of those towers are shit's still standing, I believe. I imagine, I don't know how much cigarettes they still pump out of there. Gotta Factory's still going
A
on.
massive red brick fortress that operated with its own police force, its own fire department, and a private power plant capable of lighting up a medium-sized nation. The sheer scale of the operation was incomprehensible to the outside world. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, the chimneys never stopped smoking, and the gates never closed. To work at the Reynolds was more than just a job. It was the ultimate badge of honor. Carrying a company ID card was a golden ticket. It was a guarantee for a home mortgage, a car loan, and a pension that promised a dignity few other workers in the world could imagine. There was a profound, collective sense of pride in the air. The people of Winston-Salem lived with the unwavering belief that as long as the world had stress and as long as people breathed, their city would remain the center of the industrial universe. The company's generosity during this era became legendary. R.J. Reynolds' wealth flowed like a river through the community, pouring millions into the arts, the parks, and the relocation of Wake Forest University. They transformed a tobacco town into a cultural oasis. During the Christmas season, the factory's massive smokestacks, the very symbols of its labor, were lit up with thousands of bulbs like giant, glowing candles, visible for miles across the North Carolina Piedmont. It was the era of the corporate family, where the line between an individual's life and the company's success had completely vanished. The skyline was dominated by the Reynolds Building, an Art Deco masterpiece so grand and so perfectly proportioned that the architects of the Empire State Building in New York famously used it as their blueprint. Everything about the city felt permanent, heavy, and solid. The residents looked at the thick, sweet smoke rising from the factories and didn't see pollution. They saw the smell of money. They believed the dividends would never stop flowing and that the machines would scream forever. In their eyes, the Camel Empire was a mountain that could never be moved. But in the long shadows cast by those great brick walls, the world outside was already beginning to change. For decades, the Camel Empire felt not just invincible, but inevitable. However, by the mid-1960s, the first cracks began to appear in the massive red brick facade of Winston-Salem. It wasn't a sudden collapse or a catastrophic failure. Instead, it was a slow, chilling shift in the cultural winds of America. The first major blow landed in 1964, when the U.S. Surgeon General released a landmark report linking smoking to lung cancer. In an instant, the product that had built the city's hospitals and funded its universities was being labeled a national health crisis. Inside the factory, the mood shifted from proud expansion to a desperate, high-stakes defense. The company's first response was to innovate its way out of the headlines. They turned to automation with a vengeance. Massive, high-speed machines were installed, mechanical monsters that could roll cigarettes 10 times faster than the human hands they replaced. While the production numbers stayed high, the tobacco rats began to notice something unsettling. The factory floors were becoming louder, but the lunchrooms and locker rooms were becoming emptier. The machine was starting to digest the workforce that had once been its heart. Then came the legal siege. The 1971 ban on television and radio advertising stripped the Camel brand of its loudest and most charismatic voice. The giant was forced to go quiet, disappearing from the airwaves and retreating to billboards and magazines. Tax increases and new clean air regulations added a constant friction to an industry that had previously operated with total freedom. The people of Winston-Salem tried to shield themselves with denial. They dismissed the health reports as outside interference or junk science designed to destroy their southern way of life. But the reality was unavoidable. The social contract between the city and the leaf was being rewritten. The engine of the city was still running, but for the first time in a century, the smoke from the chimneys didn't look like prosperity anymore. It looked like a warning. The end of the Camel era didn't happen with a sudden explosion. It happened with a series of hollow, metallic echoes that signaled the death of an age. By the late 1980s and early 90s, the writing wasn't just on the wall, it was etched into the very skyline of Winston-Salem. When the official announcement of the factory's closure finally came, it felt like a death in the family for every household in the city. It was the moment a century-old identity was stripped away, leaving 30,000 people wondering who they were without the company that had raised them. The final shifts were a surreal, heartbreaking funeral procession in work boot. Men who had spent 40 years on the same square foot of the production floor walked through the massive brick gates for the last time. They kept their eyes fixed on the ground, avoiding the for lease signs that were already being hammered into the red clay outside. There was no celebration, no champagne, only the grim, methodical process of powering down machines that had been screaming for 100 years. One by one, the massive rolling lines were silenced. For the first time in living memory, you could hear a pin drop in the vast, cathedral-like halls of factory number 64. The silence that followed was terrifying. It wasn't just the lack of noise, it was the lack of the scent. The sweet, heavy perfume of cured tobacco and molasses that had defined the air for generations began to dissipate, replaced by the sterile, cold smell of damp concrete and stagnant air. As the last workers punched their time cards, the metallic click of the machine echoed through the empty lobby like a final heartbeat on a flat line. Outside, the ripple effect was devastating. The diners that fed the night shift, the barbershops where workers talked sports, and the clothing stores where they spent their bonuses, they all began to wither. The economic anchor of the city had been cut loose, and for a long, dark period, Winston-Salem felt like it was drifting into a ghost town abyss. But the most painful part wasn't the loss of the money, it was the loss of purpose. Families who had defined their social status by their Reynolds badge suddenly felt like ghosts in their own town. The massive brick buildings, once symbols of global power, were suddenly transformed into hollow monuments. The gates were chained, the windows were boarded up, and the city that once never slept was forced into a long, uneasy slumber. The Camel City had become a city of shadows, where the only thing left of the empire was the red dust on the windows and the stories told in hushed tones by the men and women who used to call these cathedrals of industry their home. For years, the gargantuan shells of the Reynolds Empire stood as silent tombstones. People began to call Winston-Salem a museum of a bypassed age. But then, something remarkable happened. The city realized that while the tobacco was gone, the architecture of industry, the sheer strength of those red brick walls, remained. The very spaces that once smelled of molasses and smoke began to inhale the scent of fresh paint and high-tech cooling systems. Today, the Camel City has reinvented itself as the Innovation Quarter. The massive factory number 64 hasn't been torn down, it's been hollowed out and filled with the DNA of the future. Where thousands of workers once rolled cigarettes, hundreds of scientists now map the human genome and develop regenerative medicines. The vast, sun-drenched halls that echoed with the roar of Bonsack machines are now filled with the quiet clicking of keyboards and the hushed discussions of tech entrepreneurs. The transformation is a masterpiece of urban recycling. The old loading docks where tobacco was piled high are now bustling coffee shops and craft breweries. The Tobacco Square, once a place for hushed union whispers, is now a public park where children play on the very ground their great-grandparents once marched across to start their shift. The heavy, industrial grit has been replaced by a polished, modern aesthetic, but the ghost of the empire is still very much alive. You can still see the camel logo faded on the sides of the buildings, and the Reynolds building still anchors the skyline, now converted into a luxury hotel where guests sleep in rooms that once housed the executives of a global monopoly. The legacy of the factory isn't just in the money it left behind, but in the resilience it forged in the people. Winston-Salem didn't just survive the death of its heart, it grew a new one. It proved that you can respect your past without being a prisoner to it. As the sun sets today over the Innovation Quarter, the smoke is gone, the air is clear, and the machines are quiet. But if you stand near the old brick walls and close your eyes, you can still hear the distant whistle, not as a call to labor, but as a reminder of the titan that built this city, and the people who had the courage to build it again. Hotel where guests sleep in rooms that once housed the executives of a global monopoly. The legacy.
The history of cocaine in America, particularly during the era of the Old West, is a tale of initial enthusiasm, followed by growing concern and eventual prohibition. This powerful stimulant, derived from the coca plant, played a significant role shaping American society, medicine, and law enforcement in the late 19th to early 20th centuries. From its early popularity as a wonder drug and common ingredient in patent medicines, to its association with crime and racial tensions, cocaine's journey through American history reflects the complex social, medical, and legal landscapes of a nation in transition. It's vital that we explore the rise and fall of cocaine use in the United States, with a focus on its impact on the frontier culture of the Old West, examining how it went from being a widely available consumer product to a controlled substance within a relatively short span of time. This is the story of cocaine on the American frontier. The cocaine alkaloid is derived from the Erythroxylon coca plant, a bush native to the Andean region of South America, including Peru, Bolivia, and Colombia. This plant has played a significant role in the cultures of these areas for millennia, with indigenous populations utilizing its leaves for their nutritional content and pharmacological effects, including the presence of cocaine. In many native South American societies, the practice of masticating coca leaves remains commonplace to this day. The Incan civilization, for instance, employed this method to combat the physiological challenges posed by high-altitude living. Consuming coca leaves aided in elevating their cardiovascular and respiratory rates, counteracting the effects of the rarefied air found at great elevations. Archaeological discoveries have unearthed coca leaves among the possessions of ancient Peruvian mummies. Additionally, period ceramics depict individuals with distended cheeks, suggesting the widespread nature of coca leaf chewing. Some historical evidence points to the use of coca leaves combined with saliva as a primitive anesthetic during cranial procedures like trepanation, an early surgical technique involving the creation of holes in the skull to alleviate intracranial pressure or treat head trauma. Upon their arrival in South America, Spanish conquistadors initially prohibited coca use, associating it with demonic influences. However, they soon recognized its role in maintaining worker productivity amongst the indigenous population. Consequently, they reversed their stance, legalizing coca and implementing a taxation system on its cultivation, claiming a portion of each harvest's value for themselves. In 1569, Nicolas Monardes, a Spanish botanist, documented the indigenous practice of mixing coca leaves with tobacco to induce a state of elation. He observed that this combination led to a sensation akin to inebriation and impaired judgment. 4 decades later, in 1609, Padre Blas Valera elaborated on coca's therapeutic applications, noting its use in wound treatment, bone mending, and prevention of cold-related ailments. Valera posited that if coca could effectively treat external injuries, its internal consumption must yield even greater benefits. As Spanish settlers observed the near-constant presence of coca leaves in the mouths of indigenous individuals, many adopted the habit themselves. Word of coca's fatigue and hunger-suppressing properties eventually reached Europe. In the early 1800s, European researchers successfully isolated pure cocaine from coca leaves. This refined, crystalline form of cocaine proved to be significantly more potent, potentially hundreds of times stronger than the traditional method of leaf chewing practiced by indigenous populations for centuries. The energizing and hunger-reducing qualities of coca leaves had been recognized for generations, but it wasn't until 1855 that researchers successfully extracted the key component, cocaine. Prior to this, numerous European chemists had attempted and failed to isolate the cocaine alkaloid. These difficulties stemmed from both the limited chemical knowledge of the era and the degradation of plant samples during lengthy sea voyages from South America to Europe. However, a significant advancement occurred in 1855, when German chemist Friedrich Goethe became the first to extract the cocaine alkaloid. He dubbed it erythroxyline, and published his findings in a prominent scientific journal in Germany. The following year, Friedrich Wöhler, another German chemist, arranged for Dr. Karl Scherzer, a scientist aboard the Austrian vessel Novara, to procure a substantial quantity of coca leaves from South America. 3 years later, upon completion of the ship's global expedition, Wöhler received a chest filled with coca leaves. He then passed these specimens to Albert Nyman, a doctoral candidate at the University of Göttingen. Nyman refined the extraction process, enhancing the ease of isolating and purifying the cocaine alkaloid. This breakthrough sparked considerable interest in Western medicine regarding the potential applications of cocaine. By 1879, another chemist from the University of Würzburg conducted experiments to showcase the substance's analgesic effects. In one such trial, he submerged a frog's limbs in 2 separate containers, one containing a cocaine solution and the other filled with ordinary salt water. Upon stimulating both legs, he observed a marked difference in the reaction of the cocaine-treated limb, confirming its anesthetic properties. The drug also captured the attention of Karl Kohler, an associate of Sigmund Freud, who later wrote extensively about cocaine. In 1884, Kohler performed a notable self-experiment to evaluate cocaine's potential in ocular surgery. He applied a cocaine solution to his own eye and proceeded to probe it with needles, discovering that the drug effectively desensitized the area. Concurrently, other medical professionals explored the substance's potential. In 1859, Italian physician Paolo Montagazza returned from Peru, where he had witnessed indigenous people chewing coca leaves. Back in Milan, Montagazza experimented with the drug himself and authored a paper lauding its effects. He believed that coca could be employed medicinally to address various ailments, including halitosis, flatulence, even as a teeth whitener. One of the most significant commercial endeavors involving cocaine was initiated by chemist Angelo Mariani. Inspired by Montagazza's work, Mariani sought to explore the economic potential of coca. In 1863, he began marketing a wine infused with coca leaves, which became known as Vin Mariani, or coca wine. The alcohol in the wine functioned as a solvent, extracting cocaine from the coca leaves and imparting the beverage with its stimulating effects. Each ounce of the wine contained 6 milligrams of cocaine, but Mariani increased the concentration for the export to the United States, where similar concoctions were gaining popularity. These cocaine-induced beverages were just beginning to appear in medicine cabinets and storefronts, right as United States populations expanded westward across the American frontier, and right into the heyday of lawlessness of the Old West. In the late 19th century, cocaine found its initial foothold among laborers in the American frontier, where it was utilized as a stimulant. Employers, operating under misguided notions, often supplied workers with cocaine, erroneously believing it would enhance their productivity. This practice was particularly prevalent among African American workers, who were wrongly thought to derive greater benefits from the drug. A racist misconception, reported in medical news, falsely claimed that cocaine rendered black workers impervious to extreme temperatures. However, the substance's reputation quickly soured. By 1897, Colorado pioneered legislation to regulate cocaine sales, largely due to concerns raised by the mining industry. The use of cocaine extended beyond African American laborers, gaining traction among workers of diverse backgrounds in northern urban centers. Its popularity was partly due to its affordability compared to alcohol. In the Northeast, factory employees, textile mill workers, and railroad staff turned to cocaine to combat fatigue during extended shifts, sometimes using it as a caffeine substitute. Societal fears emerged about vulnerable groups, especially young women, being coerced into cocaine use with unfounded concerns that addiction would lead to prostitution. While tales of youth corruption by cocaine circulated widely, concrete evidence supporting these claims was actually scarce. John Pemberton, a Civil War veteran, was among those who capitalized on cocaine's rising popularity. Following a battle injury that led to morphine addiction, Pemberton sought an alternative treatment in cocaine. Drawing inspiration from the success of Vin Mariani, the coca-infused wine, he developed his own concoction called Pemberton's French Wine Coca. This product was marketed as a panacea for various ailments and even touted as an aphrodisiac. However, the implementation of temperance laws in Georgia in 1885 forced Pemberton to reformulate his product. He substituted sugar for wine, creating a new beverage that would eventually evolve into Coca-Cola. Following Pemberton's death, Asa Griggs Candler assumed control of the company, marketing Coca-Cola as a patent medicine, a common practice at the time. The drink was promoted as a remedy for exhaustion and headaches. In 1898, faced with the proposed congressional tax on medicines, Coca-Cola pivoted its marketing strategy, repositioning itself as a beverage rather than a medicinal product. The name Coca-Cola reflected its primary ingredients, coca leaves and cola nuts. While the precise cocaine content in the original formula remains uncertain, it's clear that early versions of the drink contained some amount of the drug. During this period, cocaine was still widely regarded as a popular stimulant, although concerns about its addictive properties began to surface by the late 1890s. In the latter half of the 19th century, cocaine was readily accessible throughout the American frontier. It could be procured from a variety of sources, including pharmacies, taverns, general stores, and even mail-order catalogs. Initially introduced in the 1860s as a potential solution for morphine dependency, cocaine quickly became a common over-the-counter remedy for minor health issues. Soon after, it became a key ingredient in patent medicines, with cocaine-infused lozenges marketed as treatments for respiratory ailments and dental discomfort. Medical professionals prescribed it for a wide array of conditions, ranging from digestive issues and mood disorders to pain management and pregnancy-related nausea. Cocaine was incorporated into various medicinal preparations, such as cough mixtures, rectal suppositories, and topical applications. By 1885, cocaine was available in multiple forms, including cigarettes, powder, and injectable solutions. It gained popularity as a local anesthetic in medical procedures. Promoted as a panacea for numerous ailments, from hemorrhoids to liver diseases, cocaine's widespread use led to a nationwide health crisis. People consumed it in combination with chewing gum or tobacco, while soldiers utilized it to combat exhaustion. Itinerant merchants, often referred to as snake oil salesmen, traversed the frontier, peddling an array of cocaine-based products alongside other substances like opium, heroin, and morphine. These traveling salesmen found a receptive market in frontier settlements, where their mobile pharmacies were stocked with questionable remedies. One of these snake oil salesmen's favorite coked-up products was called cocaine candy. These sweet hard candies were manufactured by Heater Halls, sold for 5 cents a tin, and included flavors such as kumquat, poppy, hemlock, mushroom, and spinach. Their slogan, "The sweet that stings. Get your kicks from Lollipop Licks. Candy that takes you on a trip."
Oh, yeah.
Not that cowboys on the frontier needed any more adventure. In 1885, the pharmaceutical giant Parke-Davis began mass producing and distributing a variety of cocaine-based products, including coca leaf cigarettes, inhalants, cordials, crystalline cocaine, and injectable solutions. The company's bold marketing claimed its products could substitute for sustenance, instill courage in the timid, grant eloquence to the reticent, and render individuals impervious to pain. Cocaine's influence became so pervasive that it even permeated popular literature by the late 1890s. In Arthur Conan Doyle's detective stories, the iconic Sherlock Holmes was depicted as using cocaine injections to alleviate boredom between cases. The drug's popularity extended to early 20th century urban centers. In Memphis, Tennessee, cocaine was openly sold in Beale Street drugstores, with small quantities priced at just 5 or 10 cents. Laborers along the Mississippi River, particularly dock workers, used cocaine to maintain energy levels, and many Caucasian employers encouraged its use among African American workers as a productivity enhancer. Cocaine even found its way into extreme exploration. During his 1909 Antarctic expedition, Ernest Shackleton included Forced March branded cocaine tablets in his supplies. The following year, Captain Robert Falcon Scott similarly equipped his ill-fated South Pole expedition with cocaine. By 1894, cocaine abuse epidemics were already making waves in the American West, with cities like Dallas, Texas, among the first to experience significant issues. Media coverage often portrayed cocaine use not just as a health concern, but as a societal menace, particularly when associated with African American and working class communities. The aforementioned depiction of cocaine use among Black populations was heavily influenced by racial biases, with southern urban centers especially promoting.
It's about 2 minutes. 4, 5, it's about 7 more minutes. I made it this far. I'll watch the rest of it, I guess.
Fears of rampant drug use within African American communities. This growing alarm prompted state legislatures more eastward, in Alabama, Georgia, and Tennessee, to propose their first anti-cocaine laws by 1900. Exaggerated and sensationalized accounts of cocaine's effects on African Americans also fueled widespread panic. In 1901, the Atlanta Constitution reported an alleged dramatic increase in cocaine use among Black individuals. The New York Times followed with an article claiming cocaine enhanced sexual urges and transformed peaceful Black people into aggressive, violent individuals. Some medical professionals even asserted that cocaine drove African Americans to criminal behavior, including sexual assault, further intensifying public fears. One Mississippi judge went as far as to claim that giving cocaine to a Black person was more perilous than infecting a canine with rabies. These extremely racist viewpoints shaped drug policies, law enforcement strategies, and incited violence against African Americans. In 1906, a major racial conflict erupted, instigated by white citizens responding to reports of Black cocaine fiends engaging in criminal activities. Such white-led racial violence, fueled by exaggerated fears of Black cocaine users, was not uncommon during this era. Southern police forces began using higher caliber firearms, believing that Black individuals under the influence of cocaine possessed superhuman strength. A dangerous myth also circulated that cocaine granted African Americans exceptional marksmanship, leading some officers to adopt aggressive tactics in confrontations. Public sentiment soon turned decisively against cocaine users, with criminal behavior becoming closely linked to cocaine use, especially amongst Black individuals. Sensationalized news reports of violent incidents involving cocaine further cemented the stereotype of the dangerous, violent, cocaine-crazed user, a stereotype deeply rooted in racial prejudice. Prior to federal government intervention with comprehensive cocaine regulations, individual states and cities implemented their own measures. Early enforcement often relied on public nuisance laws, such as those addressing vagrancy or disorderly conduct. In the absence of nationwide legislation specifically targeting cocaine, law enforcement had to be inventive in controlling its use and distribution. Rather than focusing on production, authorities primarily targeted distributors, such as pharmacies. In many instances, local health boards or pharmacy regulators assumed oversight roles for cocaine sales. Some states opted for complete prohibition of cocaine. Georgia led the way in 1902, becoming the first state to implement a total ban on cocaine sales. Other states, like Louisiana, enacted ordinances restricting sales but maintained vague exceptions for medicinal uses. Most states, however, chose stricter controls over outright bans. For example, California passed a law in 1907 mandating that cocaine only be sold with a physician's prescription, resulting in over 50 arrests of store owners and clerks within the first year. New York followed suit in 1913, limiting druggists' cocaine stock to under 5 ounces. Early labeling requirements also emerged, with some states mandating that products containing cocaine be clearly marked as poisonous. The declining reputation of cocaine became evident through its impact on notable figures such as William Halsted, a trailblazer in modern American surgical practices. Despite his considerable medical achievements, Halsted's ongoing battle with addiction underscored the perilous nature of cocaine use. Once lauded for its invigorating properties, cocaine was increasingly associated with severe dependency and cognitive decline. Similarly, Sigmund Freud's experience with the drug served as another cautionary tale. Initially an advocate for cocaine as a remedy for mental health issues, Freud's enthusiasm waned as he encountered alarming side effects, including epistaxis and cardiac arrhythmias, ultimately leading him to retract his earlier endorsement. As instances of addiction proliferated, cocaine's standing in society deteriorated. Public opinion shifted dramatically, and apprehension about the drug's hazards intensified, prompting congressional action towards regulation. This culminated in the enactment of the Harrison Narcotics Tax Act in 1914. This landmark legislation sought to regulate and impose taxes on the importation, production, and distribution of opiate and coca-derived products. The act served a dual purpose, addressing the escalating addiction crisis and mending international relations with China by clamping down on illicit opium trade. While some states initially resisted the federal statute, viewing it as an encroachment on their autonomy, widespread fear of the cocaine fiend phenomenon facilitated its passage. Various societal influencers, including the press, political figures, and medical professionals, amplified the panic by emphasizing the drug's purported dangers, often exploiting racial and socioeconomic anxieties. The Harrison Act stands as one of the earliest instances of nationwide drug control in the United States. Following the Act's implementation, cocaine swiftly receded from public discourse. Its legal status severely curtailed. The once popular stimulant faded into obscurity. The conclusion of cocaine's brief era of widespread acceptance coincided with the end of the Old Frontier period in American history.
Wild West weed, smoking cannabis the cowboy way. Maybe.
The earliest written record of people using cannabis, also known as marijuana, goes back to around 2727 BC in China. Back then, they saw it as
Maybe we'll get back to that. Anyway, I might get back to. Might watch some of that in a minute. I don't know. See what's going on here for a minute though. Time is at 1 o'clock. Got dentist appointment in the morning. We've been live almost 3 hours. Oh, cocaine. Give you back my cocaine. Give me back my whiskey. Give me back the time when you almost missed me. Give me back my. What's up? What's up? What's up? What is up? Anyway, who's percolating around in here? Be on here for 2 months longer. So I've got an early start in the morning. I think 30 anyway. Anyway, I've got a two. About another hour. Give me back my cocaine. Give me back my whiskey. Give me back the time we almost missed it. I guess video time, so we're done with the videos. See, there was people in and out. A voice thing, I mean, box. Give me back my cocaine. Give me back my whiskey. Give me back time when you almost missed me. My music hits me so hard. It makes me want to say, oh my God. And that's what I needed too. Next time I needed some green onion. Green onion would have been good on them things. A little bit. Just a little bit. Anyway, what's happening? Everybody's another quiet night. It's getting old. Excuse me. Hey, what up, what up, what up, what up, what up? Seriously, rising up. This thing's gonna need a serious clean alone. serious attention pretty soon. What's happening, everybody? What's going on? These 5 people percolating in. Trying to get me a little peace pipe situation going here. I got a peace pipe resin situation going is what I got. It's good. What's happening? What's going on? What's going down? Cool. What's going on? What's going down? People. Since fucking ain't nobody sitting in an hour. Wow. Get rid of bus camp, man. Fuck it. What was I watching? What was this about? About weed. What Fuck it. Fuck it. Yeah, I'm about to duck out anyway. Anybody got shit to say? Ain't nobody got nothing to say, so I'll duck out. Peace. Nobody said nothing. It's been an hour. Ain't nobody said nothing in an hour. Fuck it.